Hi, I'm Steph at the Bead Shop in Nottingham, and today I'm going to show you how to make our lovely cubic rectangle weave Christmas tree decoration. As you can see, it's completely beaded on all sides and it's really satisfying to make. So we're going to be using lots of Swarovski Xilions to create the lovely shape. And the nice thing about using Xilions for any kind of right angle weave is that they just lock together really nicely. So I'm going to get started. I'm using 0.25 clear Supplemax, which doesn't really lend itself to being filmed, but I have coloured the very end of the thread in with a blue marker pen to make it slightly easier to see. So first things first, we're going to use 5 6mm emerald Xilions, and I'm just going to thread these up to begin with. Okay, so we have 5 beads on there now, and then I'm going to take these towards the end of my thread. My thread is probably about 80 centimetres long, which is plenty for this project. And then I'm going to take the end of my thread through the very first bead in the same direction, so it's following where the thread's already been. And then if you pin that bead down to the mat, hold on to the end of the thread and just pull, you'll end up creating our base for our tree. So that's just 5 beads in a loop there. And to stop this moving around quite so much while I get started, I'm just going to add a bead stopper onto the thread here, so I'm not going to lose any beads off the end. There we go. Now the next thing I'm going to do is pick up some new beads. So I'm going to build up my tree base and to get it to start building up the height, I'm going to be forming a new layer, and this is going to be built up by adding beads onto each of the subsequent base beads here, which will make a lot more sense as I get going. So first things first, I'm going to pick up one size 6mm, one 5mm, and another 6mm. So they're now all on the thread. And then I'm going to go back through the bead that this thread's exiting here in the same direction. So you're always making loops. So I'm going to go through that bead in the same direction. And when I pull that tight, it will form a small square. And I'm going to do the same again, but I'm going to build a loop up from the next bead from the original ring. I'm going to thread through the next bead in the circle. So that's one of the original 6mm ones. And now, because I'm going to be because this will be 3D and I'm going to join up all the sides of the base, I'm actually only going to pick up 2 beads on this round. So I'm going to pick up one more 6mm, one more 5mm. Then I'm going to take the thread down the 6mm added in the previous round, this one here. Let's go down that one, which will form this square here. And then to finish that square, I need to take the end of the thread through the original bead at the bottom, so one of the beads that forms the base. Down there. And then again I'm going to go through the next bead from the original ring. So that has now, if I keep it flat, you'll be able to see where the beads have been added. However, what I need to do is it will start to, as I pull up the tension, it will start to create an actual 3D image, 3D piece. So I'm going to carry on building up the walls, and as I join the new square to the previous square, it will all start to form the base of my tree. one more 5mm, then join down, it's gone through both the 6mm, and as I pull it up I've created another part of the base. So to start the next one I need to go through the next bead in the base. So I've almost built up all the way around the base. So from the view from the bottom you can see there's 5 beads there. From the top, although we've almost got all the sides of the tree built, it's only 4 beads on the top, and that's because we need to zip together the last square and the first square. So to do that we need to go through the last base bead and up the next 6mm bead, and then we're going to be adding just one 5mm bead at the very top. And to connect this together we go down this 6mm bead from the side. And then to finish the circle go through the bead at the base as well. So that's formed the first layer of our tree. Okay, so now our top layer, the first layer is done. The top is made up of 5mm beads, and from these 5mm beads we're going to use these as our base for our next layer. So what I'm going to pick up next is one size 5mm, followed by one 4mm and another 5mm. So all the beads that end up on the top of each layer are going down in size, and that's how you get the tapered tree. So I'm going to do the same as I did in the previous row, where I'm going to be going round in a loop to create the square. So that's going to go through there. And we've got the beginning of the next layer. And I'm going to work my way around all the 5mm on the top here, adding 5mm and 4mm on the top. So the next, go for the next 5mm, pick up one 5mm and one 4mm. Go down the side 5mm from the previous square and the one that we started with. The next bit of the layer built up. So go through the next size 5 in the top of the previous layer, then pick up one 5mm, one 4mm, and go down that 5mm and through the one that we started with. And again, start the next square by going through the next 5mm and then again, we're at the stage now where we need to join the beginning square and the end square together. So I'm going to start by going through the next 5mm on the base, go up the side of the very first square 5mm, add 4mm that's going to join the two squares together, and then go down the side of the last 5mm from the previous square, and then again through the base to bring that last square together. And to get us into the right position for the next layer, go up the 5mm, and through the next 4mm on the top, ready to do our next layer. So each layer, as you can see, is starting to build up. It builds up in the same way, but it's starting to taper slightly by using smaller beads at the last stage. So now I'm going to be picking up 4mm beads and 3mm. So I'm going to start with one 4mm, one 3mm and another 4mm, and then go through the 4mm bead that the thread's exiting out of in the same direction to form our first square. There we go. And then in the same way that we've done for the previous layers, go through the next 4mm, pick up one 4mm and one 3mm, go through down the 4mm bead from the previous square and the 4mm that we started with, and go through the next 4mm and pick up a 4mm and a 3mm. Go down the 4mm from the previous square and through the one we started with. And do this one more time. And we're now at the final stage where we join the two squares together. So we're going to go through the base again, up the side of that first square, and we'll be joining them together at the top with just one of the 3mm beads. So we're going to pick that up, go down the 4mm, go through the 4mm at the bottom, up the 4mm at the top. This is the basic shape of the body of our tree now. So you can see it's all 3D and it's tapering up nicely, and we've just got a few finishing touches to actually turn it into our lovely elegant little tree decoration here. Okay, so we need to finish off the threads first of all. So to do this, I always take the thread underneath the thread in between the bead where I'm exiting out of one bead and the next bead. So just take it underneath the thread, so you're creating a giant loop. You can see that with the thread being so clear. And then you take the end of the thread through the loop to create a small knot. And that way you're tying a really small knot around the thread that is already in the pattern. And just hold it tight and pull the end, give it a bit of a tug, and that will hold in place. Then you can weave the end of the thread through several beads, always following where the thread's already been rather than taking it across any patterns and pulling the tension out. So I'll fasten that one off in a moment, and we can do the same with the thread at the very beginning at the base. So now all the ends are fastened off, and once I've gone through a few of the beads, I just trim off the excess bits. So this is now a finished part. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add the sparkly seed beads in between the Xilions on the actual body of the tree. So to do that, I've just got a piece of Nymo beading thread that will blend in quite nicely and threaded on a beading needle. And first things first, I'm just going to tie the thread around the Supplemax thread at the base. So I'm just going to take the needle underneath and tie a really, really simple knot. I'm going to leave a little bit of a tail at the end so that I've got enough to rethread the needle on to weave in the ends later, so just make sure that's nice and tight. Because the thread goes down quite small when it's knotted, I can get away with a double knot and it won't look too bulky. So now that's attached, I'm going to pick up one size 11 silver lined gold seed bead. So these are a perfect size and colour for a Christmas tree. I'm picking one up and I'm going to go up the 6mm Xilion at the base. So then that's going to sit nicely at the bottom there, sparkling away. Then pick up another one, go through the next bead, so that one will be a 5mm. Then another, which will be pick up another seed bead and go through the next bead upwards, which will be a 4mm now. So you're just adding rows of size 11 beads in lines, filling in the gaps in between the squares of Xilions. And to work our way across, I'm just going to go through the 3mm bead at the top, pick up a new size 11 seed bead, go down the 4mm bead. That one's proving a little tricky because it's where I tied my knot. There we go, it's gone through now. And pick up another one, go through the 5mm. And another, go through the 6mm. And another, and this time we're going through the 6mm at the bottom and going round to the next row, next column should I say, and then we do the same again and just keep going round in the same way until you've got one seed bead sat in each of the little gaps. Once you've gone all the way around, you can see all the sparkly gold seed beads sat nicely in between all the Xilions. And do the same as we did with the Supplemax threads, where you just fasten off, tying a small knot around the thread, and then weave some of the thread through a few beads before trimming off the excess. Okay, so now it's getting closer to our finished item. So all we need to do now is actually assemble the tree. So I've got a gold-plated headpin here and a 6mm Light Siam Swarovski cube bead. I'm going to thread that on first, then go through the centre of the tree, popping out at the top there. And then just to finish the top off nicely, I'm going to add one more 4mm green emerald Xilion bead. It just creates quite a nice point to the top of the tree, followed by a 6mm golden shadow Xilion bead, which acts as a really nice star shape on top. And then all we need to do now is create a loop. The trickiest bit with this, I found, is actually holding everything. You don't want to squish the tree down too much so that it's really rigid, but equally you don't want it to be moving around too much. So you just have to have a steady grip on it and then create a loop with round nose pliers just above the 6mm bead at the top. For more information about making loops, we have got a festive earring video which shows you exactly how to make loops and might provide you with some more inspiration as well. So once I've created the loops, trim off that excess bit of wire and we have our finished decoration. I think that'll look really effective hanging on from a tree, or a very, very elaborate pair of earrings. There we go. The list of ingredients for everything that I've used for these is below, and we're also going to be providing it as a kit, so you'll be able to buy all the beads and the instructions ready to make your own.